not hot mic.
Is it cold mic?
Now I'm not getting any. Keep talking to that. Oh, you know what?
Uh-oh.
I forgot one crucial step. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
It's a hot mic.
Alright.
It's good. Hopefully it's working.
Okay.
On my screen it says it is. Alright. Podcast outline. Josh.
Mark.
How's it going?
Excuse me. It is going well. It is going well.
Did you like today's workout? You wrote it.
Yes, I did. I knew it was going to be difficult just because it's new kind of combination of movements. So it's the beginning of a block or a new block. It was just difficult in different ways.
Yeah.
Than expected.
Including those ring hamstring curls.
Yes. I gotta be careful not to sit with the knees too flexed, otherwise I get a massive Charlie horse.
Yeah.
So if I kick this way really aggressively at any point, you'll know that's why.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that one yesterday.
Yeah, you did it yesterday.
The front squat and the farmer's carry. I did it yesterday, one, because it just kind of worked out better with what I had done. I worked out at home on Sunday, and so it kind of just worked out better. But two, I wanted to see how well, kind of what to expect for. I like knowing what to expect, and I think it allows me to coach a little bit better and share some insights with members when we're going through workouts. So I knocked that out yesterday. And, whew, yeah, man, definitely different. You know, we're used to doing farmer's carries with maybe something like a machine or some running or I don't know, maybe some other sort of carry. But like when you incorporate a pretty neurologically taxing movement like a moderate weight front squat, it definitely upped the ante a little bit, made it a little bit harder.
Yeah, and we'll get into details later whenever we kind of lay out what this block of programming is going to look like, the thought process behind it, stuff like that. So I don't want to get too much away too soon, but yeah, we'll certainly detail that out for people.
Cool.
You gotta get your paper for your timestamps.
Seems to be the only thing I ever forget.
So while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the two announcements that we have. The first is a meal prep clinic that is coming up on July 10th, and I believe I'm getting this right, that Steph is going to host it at her home.
What?
I think. I could be wrong. I thought I heard somebody say that. So
I did not know that. That's pretty cool.
If that's not true, then maybe we just made a reservation at Steph's house that she doesn't know about. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, a meal prep clinic going to be on July 10th, and then the very next Saturday, it is a farewell workout for Marc Z.
For me.
On Saturday at 9 a.m., and then we're doing a little get-together. We've got some activities planned, one with a razor at 4 p.m. at Armature Works.
Some clippers?
Yeah, some clippers. We're going to be bringing those. 4 p.m. at Armature Works.
Yeah.
Just show up. We're not going to say a place. You're just going to kind of wander around like a lemming until you find somebody else that you know and that looks familiar from the gym.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's normally how that kind of thing works anyway. So that'll be a good time. I like getting together with people outside of the gym, so that'll be a blast. So looking forward to that.
Yep.
Of course, the workout as well. Who doesn't like working out?
That's right. Any other announcements that we have, or is that it?
We don't have 7 p.m.s on Fridays starting in July, but that doesn't really affect anybody.
Because nobody came anyway.
Yeah.
So
it's almost like ironic to announce that, right?
Yeah. So this is the last announcement today. No more announcing it.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what I just realized on my computer?
What?
My computer is stuck on Friday, July 25th.
Like the date?
Yes. That's not good.
You're stuck in time, man. Like that's like Men in Black 3.
Yeah. Wow, this is really bizarre.
Was that the last time you opened it?
I mean, it must have been. Yeah. Holy moly. I've never had that happen. Okay, well. We're talking about, are we in the future then? Or is my computer in the past?
Let's say we're in the future. Speaking of future, this is about as futuristic as it gets, right? Because people have been talking about this since the freaking 1800s. I just saw on Instagram today that the very first flying car just completed its first flight. And it was like a 35-minute flight from like some airport to another airport in Slovakia or something like that. I'll have to get the exact details, but I think that's pretty incredible.
That is. I did not hear about that.
It was like a transformer. If I saw correctly, I'll have to go back and read the article. I was kind of just skimming through, but it was like, it showed, it had wings and a tail, it looked like a plane, but with like a car cabin. But then it showed it driving on the ground, and it's like everything like retracted back in. It's like a freaking transformer, like the Decepticons. It was pretty cool.
They are taking over.
Yeah. So that's futuristic. So I would say we're living in the future, and that's just a Stone Age computer.
And the computer is living in the past.
Yeah, we're living in a time where the MacBook Air is
no, MacBook Pro. This is not the MacBook
sorry.
Air.
I got the Air.
Yes.
Yeah, that's less futuristic now because we got flying cars.
Well, it's alright. Can't all be perfect.
The flying car king.
Would you, if you had like a long commute, would you partake in the flying car action?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I love flying. Flying's so cool.
It is.
But it'd have to be a pretty long commute.
That is true.
I mean, I live 5 minutes from here. I'd probably still
take
the car here.
Flying car. I gotta go to the airport.
The propeller noise.
I actually watched a video a couple months ago about why the economics of helicopter commuting did not work out. You want the Cliff Notes version? It's just too expensive.
I was gonna make a joke, but
yeah, that was it. It was a 20-minute video for them to just talk in detail about it just being too expensive and not scalable. All right, thanks for that.
What made it so expensive?
I mean, the fuel, the fact that you can get places pretty close to where you need to be, but it's not cheap to run a helicopter.
Right.
So, and then in order for it to be scalable enough, you would theoretically need, say that your average helicopter can hold 8 people. And I don't even know if this is true, but let's just say that it's 8 people. So you need to rely on the fact that these 8 people are not only taking off from the same exact spot that's convenient for them, but they're also landing in the exact spot that is convenient for them. And so, because you gotta understand that the people that could afford this service means that their time is worth more than the money that they're doing. So they're not gonna go out of their way to park and then walk a couple of blocks to the helicopter pickup point that's most convenient. They wanna just go where that's most convenient for them.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily the same place that is convenient for the other 7 people that can afford to be on the helicopter. Does that make sense?
So you pretty much, people are so snobby that it didn't work out.
Correct. Yes.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I wonder how flying cars will do that. I
don't know. I mean, it worked out well for Marty McFly and Doc.
Did it?
Maybe.
All right.
Okay.
We got some questions today. And we kind of already detailed one of them because we were talking a little bit about one of the workouts we were doing in the block.
Yes.
And I think prefacing all of what we wanted to talk about today would help by answering this first question. So, Josh, I'm going to ask this to you because I know you wrote this block.
I did.
What does the layout look like for this block of training or this block of programming?
So, I'll start first by covering the intention. So the intention of this next 6 weeks is, over the last several blocks that we've done, we've spent a lot of time developing motor control, some strength endurance, and now we want to start expressing the increases in strength that folks have been building just from a neurological standpoint. So we put in a lot of time to develop this control. So what you'll see is a big difference between this block and some of the other blocks is the rep count is going to go down with each week. So for squatting, like I've got it pulled up here. So we're doing some push pressing, we're doing some split squatting, we're going to be doing some dumbbell bench press, so on and so forth, some step ups. As the weeks progress, you're actually going to see the rep ranges go down, and then we're also going to allow people to move their weight up. So it's not going to be that the reps go up and the weight stays the same. We're actually going to bring the reps down and allow people to work on expressing the strength that they've built over time. So that's kind of the intention. And then kind of wrapped inside of that is just the actual layout of the week. So there's a couple of different ways that we can tackle programming. So the way that I tackle it this time is I just looked at, like we've talked about before, we have to take into account not everybody comes every single day. Some people do, so you have to balance that too. But a lot of people come like every other day. So we want to make sure that we don't say, because we've talked about this before, that we're not only ever squatting on Monday, and we're not doing that movement pattern on a Tuesday or Thursday or any other day.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't come Monday, then you're never going to get that, and we don't want that to happen, right? So we kind of move the days, you know, what the focus is for the day as the weeks progress. So what we saw today on Wednesday, we'll see next week on Tuesday.
Okay.
So that just like, you know, we have done in previous vlogs.
Okay.
So there's that consideration.
I think it helps for people to hear that.
Yeah. Now, in terms of the layout of the days, my goal is always to balance, the fundamental movement patterns of which are squat, hinge, push-pull, and core. And then wrapped within that is obviously cyclical work, which is a combination of basically all of those movement patterns. So we want to make sure that we balance those across the week. And then also recognition that you can work total body. You can do a workout that is primarily upper body, and then you can also do a workout that is primarily lower body. So the way that the weeks are going right now is it is a total body followed by an upper body day followed by a lower body day. And then it'll be total, upper, lower, total, upper, lower, total, upper, lower. So, and that kind of sequence plays out. But remember, you're not always, even though we had a total body day on Monday, next week, we'll see that move to the end of the week, which is actually going to be on Saturday. So we are bringing Saturday into the equation too.
Cool.
Yeah. So there's that. Now, what does it mean when we say total body versus, say, a upper body? And I'll just take a look at, I've got the programming pulled up here, the difference between Monday of this week and Tuesday of this week. So Monday of this week, we had a dumbbell split squat. So we've got the squatting pattern in there, but it was a split squat, not a bilateral squat, meaning you're squatting two legs moving at the same time, right? Yeah. So that's unilateral squatting, and then we have a chin-up, which is a upper body pulling, vertical pulling movement. And then in the conditioning, we had devil's press, which is a hinge movement, and then an ab mat sit-up, which is a core movement. So we had upper, lower, squat, hinge, push, pull, core. We basically had every movement pattern in there.
Yeah.
Tuesday, on the other hand, was a strict upper body day. Do the legs work a little bit on the calories on the machine? Yes, of course. Do they work a little bit on the push press? Yes, of course. But the upper body is really the focal point of that day. So you had a vertical push, a horizontal pull, anti-rotation for core, and then your cyclical work. So you might be thinking, if you're following along and taking notes, okay, we did some upper body stuff on the total body day. We also followed it on day 2 in the upper body focus day. But the upper body movements that we did on day 1 was a horizontal push and a vertical pull. So you can either go on the pushing, you can go horizontal or vertical, pulling horizontal or vertical. So we did a horizontal push and a vertical pull on Monday. On Tuesday, it was still upper body, but now we reverted to a vertical push and a horizontal pull. And this is all in terms of like a design perspective, a way to make sure that people stay balanced and they don't succumb to overuse injuries, which we know can certainly be a big problem, where the movement variety isn't well thought out.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of the breakdown of the days, and if you've been here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of this week, or you've looked at the programming, you've seen what's going on. And then on day 4 of this week, we're going to have kind of what we've dubbed the aerobic day. I don't like to call it a recovery day because it still is checking the box for movement, and it's a very healthy practice to do things like this to where you walk away feeling refreshed. So that day is actually a total body aerobic day. So we've got squatting, hinging, vertical pushing, horizontal pulling, and then a core movement. And then day 5, we're going to go back to upper focus day, and day 6 on Saturday, we're still doing partner workouts on Saturdays, but it is going to be a little bit more of a lower body focused partner workout that we have coming on Saturday.
Cool. I love this stuff.
Yeah.
So the way to work, you went total upper lower. Does that mean Monday through Saturday next week it'll go upper lower total upper lower total?
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
Yep. It's always going to be in that order. It's just if you were to visualize a calendar, it's like everything shifts to the left.
Got it.
Yeah. So like Monday becomes Saturday, Saturday becomes Friday, so on and so forth. Now, there are a plethora of other things that you could do to like change things up and make it fancy and keep the body guessing. And I'm saying this very sarcastically because those are just stupid ways to make things look overly complex and fancy.
Right.
Like I could say, okay, well, we're going to go total upper, lower, and then next week we're going to go total lower, upper.
Whoa. Oh my gosh.
And that's just another variable that doesn't need to be put into place.
Right.
So we're just trying to change a couple of things over time, again, because the goal is to allow people to progress. And this is a very easy, logical, straightforward way to do that. And so this is week 1 that we're in the middle of right now. And it's a 6-week block. So the next 4 weeks, which will take us through week 5, will basically build off of this. So I don't want to say that this is a testing week because that creates all sorts of anxiety for people, myself included. But then in week 6, you're going to see these same workouts that we've done this week because I think it's really neat for people to be able to see and recognize and celebrate progress that they have made. Progress from a loading perspective, progress from a work perspective, or even progress with learning new movements like we did today with the ring hamstring curl. I mean, I don't know how the other classes are going to fare doing this, but I know at 9 a.m. we had a lot of fun just trying to learn this, what is a brand new movement for probably 95% of people.
Yeah.
To do something like this. And one of the big reasons that I put that in is when you look at the different ways that you can hinge, there is a hip-focused hinge movement and then a knee-focused hinge movement. And we can think of dozens of hip-focused movements, right? Everything from a deadlift to a power clean to a kettlebell swing to a good morning. These are all hinging movements that are dominated by the hip. Knee-dominant stuff tends to be more isolation-driven. So I wanted to make sure that we got that in there to help balance some things out because a hallmark of a not so well written program is one that completely doesn't address certain movement patterns.
Right.
So if we can address that, then that only makes it that much more well-rounded and balanced.
So for example, something like, we'll take today's, right? Because I think we're going to see a lot of people do this one today just because I know Wednesday's a busy day. I think people are going to like this workout. They want to give it a try from the 2 classes I've coached so far. Between today and week 6, what is your goal for both? Let's talk the ring hamstring curl and the Metcon that we did today. So is your goal to see potentially times improve? Is it to see maybe people get a little bit more comfortable with the load they have on the bar? Is it the same idea for the farmer's carries? Like what is your goal? We don't have to do every day, but like a snapshot of what you're thinking to accomplish for this specific day. Yeah,
it's a really good question, and I think that my answer can actually apply to every single day on the programming. So for the ring hamstring curl, I think the biggest piece of growth and progress that people will see is just feeling way more comfortable doing this movement. And there's a lot of value in that. Now, from a purely biomechanical standpoint, we could connect your ability to get better at these to your ability to deadlift more, to squat more, to pull more. Like all those things, they will certainly have downstream effects, which are positive, but more than anything, it's like the first time that you learn how to do a bicep curl, right? Are you going to get stronger, and is it going to translate to other things? Yeah, but part of the win in progressing is just learning a new skill. And then how it applies is going to be different for everybody. So there's that. In terms of the actual workout, so we did 6 rounds per time. It could be that you finish the workout faster. It could be that you are moving with better movement efficiency. It could be that you are moving or moving more comfortably in the squatting pattern. It could be something like I'm going, maybe the first week that you did this, let's say the time doesn't change, but you broke twice, 2 different times on the farmer's carry, and now you're only going to break 1 time.
Wow, okay.
And so, in theory, it's like, well, my time should improve if I only broke 1 time. Maybe, but if you going unbroken forces you to slow down somewhere else, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because what you're doing there is you're negating the win that you had. So what I would encourage people to do is determine what a measure of success is for you in any of these particular workouts that you're doing. So for me, it might be, I'm going to keep everything in the same spot, and I'm just going to reduce the transition time between when I come in and when I pick up the bar. Now, maybe an easy way to measure that is just, well, you end up finishing the workout, let's just say that I've reduced the transition by 2 seconds every time. So that's a 12-second differential in my workout time. And it's like, well, 12 seconds isn't that big of a deal. Yeah, but the measure of progress for me was not the 12 seconds. The measure of progress was knowing that my transition was more intentional,
right,
in a shorter amount of time. So
that's a lot more applicable to the rest of the workouts you do, rather than saying, oh, I did this workout 12 seconds faster. It's like, no, I overall got better in my transitions, which can be applied across an entire week of programming like this
right.
week, versus just one singular workout.
Yeah, so that's why, when we program stuff, it's very easy, just because in fitness in general, so many people hang their successes on, did I get stronger? Did I build more muscle? Did I do this workout faster? Did I do more work in the same amount of time? And that's only like 3 or 4 things. And if you didn't check the box on any of those, you walk away feeling like a failure. And the name of the game in fitness is consistency.
Right.
Now, of course, a measure of consistency is just, obviously showing up and doing the work. But if you limit your progress to just one of those 4 things that I named, lifting more weight, doing more work, doing the same amount of work in less time, those things, it's like, okay, you're only giving yourself a few opportunities to get a win.
Right.
So how about you expand it and then personalize it? So I'm not going to say, okay, the measure of success for this program is everyone does that 6 rounds per time faster, because that would never be my intention.
Right.
Because I can write the same workout for 12 different people and have different intentions for each of those, and thus different outcomes and measures of success for each of them.
I think I love that, because it's something that I feel like has been lost in translation for such a long time, in that it's, okay, like we're gonna clean and jerk now, and it's January 1st, and we're gonna do it again on July 1st. We're gonna do it in 6 months. It's like, theoretically, you should be able to clean and jerk more. But what if you don't, right?
Right.
Then it's a really slippery slope mentally that you're going down if you didn't clean and jerk more. We're doing 6 rounds for time now. In 5 weeks from today, we're going to do it again, right? So it would be the 6th week. If you didn't get faster, then what the heck were you doing for the last 5 weeks? Like, no, there's way more to it than that. There's maybe your front squats today, or your clean and jerk, whatever, you feel better doing it. Like you said, you change transition time. Maybe you're doing much more of the stuff, even just one movement in here with less pain than you had before, right?
That's another great marker, okay, I had pain when I tried this, and then in the 6th week I don't have pain.
Right. And I just feel like it's something that gets lost in translation. I think in a big part because we love doing this so much. We love seeing that, I guess you could call it that, those explicit results rather than those implicit ones.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's all really tangible, like a a change in transition time. If you take 2 seconds less every time, that's tangible, right? You can feel yourself get on the bar faster, get on the dumbbells or kettlebells faster. But I would say that's a lot more of like an implicit than, okay, black and white, I lifted more or I did this workout faster, that we've gotten caught up in for so long now. That is it a great measure of progress? Yeah, absolutely. Should it be the only one? Absolutely not. It probably shouldn't even be the primary one because of how long of a journey a fitness journey is.
Right. Yes, for life. I don't know who said it, and I really wish I did so I could give proper credit, but there's a great quote that says, not everything that can be measured matters, and not everything that matters can be measured.
Well,
so, and that's so applicable, of course, to life in general, because that's what it was written about, but just into these things. So it would be very easy, again, to kind of repeat in a different way what we've already said. It would be very easy to say, yep, the goal is that you get faster, doing this workout. It's like, yeah, but I would guess that 7 out of 10 people that just work out with us don't really care about that.
Yeah.
What if in the name of getting faster, your sleep gets progressively worse and your stress goes up and thus your relationships at home suffer? Is that a win?
Right.
Well, it's a win on paper for the programming, but it's a loss in 3 other very important areas. So to me, that's 3 to 1, that's a loss.
Yeah.
So that's why I say that, this is hard work. I know what I'm asking of people is not easy. It's hard work. But that's why I say that you need to take the time to figure out, okay, I just did this workout today. What would be a win? Maybe a win would be not chalking up for 4 of the 6 rounds like I did today. But it's different. And the best thing that you can do is personalize it for yourself.
Yeah.
Write it down.
That's really cool. I like that you're making that, you've gone out there and said that that's what you're looking for in this block. I mean, admittedly, even the ones I wrote, it's like, yeah, of course, like, we did 3 5-minute intervals. Like, you want to be able to hold that pace for 15 minutes. Like, that's what I'm looking for. But if it's, hey, like, you're able to do this better, do that better. So that's cool. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
I love the thought process. I like the total upper lower type thing. I love the workouts that you wrote this week, and I'm excited to see where it goes, like in terms of like the progressions and stuff like that. So
yeah, and just to kind of detail that out a little bit more. If you've been paying attention to any of the stuff that Marc has written the last several blocks, it's very much the same. As this week we did a big chunk of work to kind of set the stage, and then now what we're gonna do is break them into intervals and teach you guys how to pace specifically for work to be done like this. And then whenever we redo it again in week 6, you put all those pieces, all that learning that you just did for the last 6 weeks, you put all those pieces together, and you may, like I said, you may get better, you may not, but you're going to walk away better for it no matter what, because you took the time to learn and to put, it's like you just expand your, this may sound silly and woo-woo, but like you expand your fitness vocabulary, and your awareness a lot.
right.
Yeah.
Yesterday was cool. It was the 20-minute EMOM max cal machine and then the plank on the even minutes. It was an EMOM, and so I was getting a lot of questions about it. People were coming up to me and they're like, hey, so what do these mean? What do my calorie amounts mean? Whether they held the same thing across all of them, which was impressive, whether they got faster, also very impressive, or whether they got, I don't like saying worse, but we'll just say they did less calories across each of their 10 rounds, right? So across the 20 minutes. And it was cool, like, seeing that, okay, what does this mean, right? Because it's a relatively, you could say, quote, like, simple workout, like you're on a machine and you're doing a plank, but by the end of it, at the end of the 20 minutes, people are all like, ooh, okay, yeah, that was tough, right? And they're shocked because it is a machine and some planking, and so they say, what does this mean? And so we were kind of talking about that a little bit, and it's cool seeing that drive and being able to say, okay, so like next time, so like last time, or yesterday you were doing, what was it? It was 10 calories, then 11, and then some 12s on the assault bike, right?
Yeah, so the first 4 rounds I did 10, the next 3 rounds I did 11, and then I was planning to go 12, 12, 12, but I ended up doing 12, 12, 13.
So what's going to be your focus, or what are you going to strive to do in 5 weeks in that 6th week when we retest it? Redo the workout.
Yeah, so for that one specifically, my goal is just to become more comfortable on the assault bike. So I've spent, I don't even know how many hundreds or thousands of hours on the rower, and I can close my eyes and tell you pretty much plus or minus a few, seconds or calories per hour, like what my pace is. I'm just very comfortable on the rower. I'm not on the assault bike. So for me, it's just understanding, that even though the whole body system that gets worked in the assault bike is very different from the rower. Even though you feel like, oh man, I don't want to say like you're having this panic moment, but it's just very different. It's a very different cyclical modality than any other machine in the arsenal that we have. So my goal is to get more comfortable, and by that what I mean is knowing that, okay, I can go just a little bit faster, 1 or 2 RPMs maybe, and I'm okay. I can recover in the 60 seconds, which is really a 30-second plank and 30 seconds of rest.
Yeah.
But I can recover enough and repeat that work. I don't want to say indefinitely, but for 20 minutes, I can do that.
Right.
Yeah. So I would like to see my output go up, and I'll probably dance around the 11 or 12 mark and see how far I can hold that. But for me, the win is just going to it's going to be knowing that I'm comfortable on the bike, pushing it a little bit more.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah. That one was interesting because it's, especially if you're on the assault bike specifically, if you really get after it for 20, 30 seconds, you can really jack the calorie total up if you're strong enough, right, to get a fairly decent score. And there is some gamification. Tabrez and I were joking about that yesterday, is like quote unquote beating the system is what he kept saying. But really, when the intention is, it's not what can you do in 1 minute, it's 60 seconds across the board, and then you're trying to make sure that you don't drop below like your lowest total.
Right.
It changes things a little bit. So can you push it and get really aggressive in 30 seconds or so? Yeah, but now you're actually resting for 90 seconds instead of 60 on, 60 off.
Yeah. So what would you say to Tabrez the next time he does it?
I would say to go to 60 seconds, at least for the first couple, right. And then you've set the barometer, and it's like, okay, I know I'm not going to go below that. I'm comfortable with that. I just think you're going to do a lot more intentional learning that way than blowing it out of the water for 30 seconds.
Gaming the system.
Yeah.
Tabrez.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I love it. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to see how it progresses. Like I said, I really like all of it. So, Cool. Okay, so let's move on to the second one. Wow, we spent 25 minutes on that one. That was cool.
I have no recollection of or knowledge of what time it is because, like I said, my computer still is living on Friday, June 25th. So
10:58.
Okay.
Wednesday. It's Wednesday, by the way. It's
Okay.
Wednesday night news. So this question we actually got after talking about the workout that we were just talking about, the machine and the plank one from yesterday, and basically we went down this rabbit hole of what do my calories mean, how can I apply this, and I mentioned something about a high power output and how probably something, I don't even remember how I brought it up, but something about how if you can't maintain those calories, then you started at a power output that was way higher than what you should have for that 20-minute workout. And then we started talking about that high power output, or think super high intense type stuff like sprint type deals, or very short intervals like 4-minute AMRAPs, rest 10 minutes, stuff like that, right? So things like that. And someone said, how do you express high power output, or how can you really train for that? So Josh, when it comes to high power output, I know we've talked about it before. We've said that you kind of have to earn your right to get there, right?
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Like, So you have to be good at the stuff we did yesterday, the stuff we did today, the 20, the 25, 35, 60, 90-minute pieces,
Yep.
right? You have to be good at that stuff before you can get good at the 20-second type stuff. I'll just kind of let you go now.
Yeah. So, okay. This is a deep one, but a really, really fun one. So, number one is you, like you said, you have to earn it. And what we mean by that is, I know people hear that and they're thinking, well, I should just be able to do it because everybody's entitled to everything. And it's like, no. I guess in a sense you are entitled to do it, but then if you mess around and hurt yourself because you actually can't recover from it, then that's on you. But that's a different conversation. So first, you need to earn it by way of being strong enough. And there's something that's called the strength continuum, and we've talked a little bit about this, but in a nutshell, the way that this works is that there is motor control. You just need to learn how to move, express a range of motion, do it without fatigue mechanisms being a limiting factor, and then you move into like a strength endurance. So you're starting to push up against the boundaries of high repetition stuff that is just below getting fatiguing, and then from there you move into absolute strength, and then after that there is strength speed work, and then there is speed strength work. Right? So there's this whole continuum. So we won't get into what's appropriate for who and what population, but like how do you express high power output? Well, you need to understand that you've got to work your way through this specific continuum in order to get to power expression, which is what happens when you're in strength speed or speed strength type events. To kind of differentiate these two for folks so they understand more tactically what I mean is strength speed is your snatch, your clean and jerk. Speed strength is an overhead med ball toss or a sprint. Like, you're not going to work with a heavy load, but you are going to move if the heavy load is a 10-pound medicine ball or just your body weight like Usain Bolt sprinting. It's very, very high turnover. So the power expression is also very, very high. So, how do you express high power output? You've got to be strong enough. Well, what does that mean? Like, how strong do I need to be? Well, it depends. What are you trying to express? Okay. Again, we use the it depends, but let's just say from a movement perspective, I would say you should be able to deadlift 1.5 to double your body weight. So if you're a 150-pound person, you should probably deadlift close to 300 pounds. And then you can do the math from there. You should probably be able to squat 1.5 times your body weight. You should probably be able to press 75% of your body weight. You should probably be able to bench press, 1.25 times your body weight. So those are just some generalities. You should be able to do, if you're a male, a couple of strict pull-ups, say 3 to 5. If you're a female, 2 to 3 strict pull-ups. When you can hit these requisites of absolute strength, then you've kind of earned your way into working on some sort of strength speed type work. And it's not to say that we're putting this barrier in because it's, you're part of the cool kids club or something. You've got to be able to hit these metrics. Really, it's because up to that point, what you have built is the neurological control, or the neurological connections that things are firing right, the neurological control, especially on an eccentric component that you're not going to, you see this happen in old man softball leagues. Somebody hits a line drive to left field and they try to stretch a double into a triple. What happens? They blow their hamstring out.
Yeah.
Because they are overdoing their body's ability to recover from the strength that they have. So they're expressing power before they have earned it. Maybe back in their college days they had earned it, but you lost it. And I think we talked about that a couple weeks ago with like strength losses.
Yeah.
So there's that. There are some metrics that you need to have, and then you also have to realize the law of specificity. So if you're going to express a power exercise, here's a great example. is by every metric, and I don't know if my brother will be listening to this, but by every traditional measure in the weight room, I know that I'm stronger than my youngest brother. I know I can deadlift more than him. I can clean and jerk, snatch, squat, press. I can do everything stronger than he can. But when you put us on a mound and we have to throw a baseball, there is no question that he's going to throw considerably. I mean, he was throwing really, really hard a couple months ago when we were practicing, but he will throw considerably harder because he has built up the specific pieces of his strength and then translated that into the coordination to be able to do it that way.
Okay.
And so that's another really, really important component is you can have somebody that is world-class strong, but if they don't have the coordination to do the movement that you are wanting to do from a power expression standpoint, doesn't matter, right?
Right.
I'll give you another example on the flip side is now things might be different nowadays, but say 3-4 years ago, when we were a little bit more evenly matched, by every absolute strength measure, including squatting, deadlifting, pressing, I was weaker than Jay was. Jay could squat more than me, could deadlift more than me, could press more than me, bench press more than me. But when it came time to snatch and clean and jerk, I could outdo him because I could express more of the strength that I had than he could.
Right.
That's because my movement efficiency is wicked good, and I was just built to do those things better. Now, as we backed off of some absolute strength work with him and worked on his technique, guess what? Now he can clean and jerk and snatch more than I can.
Right.
So that's kind of like some surface level stuff.
Yeah.
I think what people need to take away from that is you need to be strong enough.
So, for example, say somebody wants to do assault bike sprints, right? And that's how they want to train their high power output, right? And they want to do some of those sprints on there. What would you say? What makes them strong enough? What's the key? What's the gateway to be able to do work on something like that?
Yeah. So if you look at some of the guys that can just produce obscene amount of power on the assault bike, what they're all going to have in common is their lower half is huge and very strong.
Yeah.
They don't have to be wickedly efficient because on a cyclical piece, it's like you're just moving, like that's why it's cyclical, is it just moving in circles and the bike takes care of it. They don't really have to do anything but just apply an obscene amount of power into the handles and into the pedals.
Uh-huh.
So the common characteristic of the people that are very good at expressing power on that are just freakishly strong in the lower body. And they've probably got a decent amount of upper body strength to match it, but it's not like the guys that skip leg day can go in there and beat a Rob Rivera on the assault bike.
Yeah.
They may be able to outbench him by 50%, but if they can't squat like he can, he's going to win 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. So how can you express power on that thing like to the maximal? Is you just have to be very strong in the lower body.
Got it.
Yeah. Was that the question? Is that?
Yeah. It was, I wasn't necessarily looking for a prerequisite or anything. Like, oh, you have to be able to squat this much or whatever. But just like, okay, what are the steps to take if that's something that you want to do, right? And I think we get this question a lot of people ask because a lot of the stuff you look at, right, and a lot of the stuff that was preached for a long time, but I'm starting to see this new wave of almost like fitness advice coming in across the board, whether it is from powerlifters or from marathoners and runners or CrossFitters or general functional fitness enthusiasts or whatever. Like, I think the idea is now starting to be widely accepted that high intensity stuff repeated day in and day out is bad for you, right? And that's not to make a dig at anybody or anything, but I think, and like I mentioned, even CrossFit's starting to recognize that, hey, maybe not every day, dude. Not 100 or 110% every day. And so we're starting to see this shift, from that old mindset to a new one that is saying, hey, you should be working out more intentionally because it turns out that whatever you want to be better at, whether it is exercising or it's life or it's your job or it's your relationships, right? you should probably not be working out as hard, right? You should be working out a little bit more intentionally because it carries over a little bit more. And so the high power output question is definitely intriguing because a lot of what we see or used to see online is, hey, it was really intense. It was, hey, here's whether it was intense because of load, like, hey, I just did, I just PR'd my clean and jerk, or here's a PR snatch that you see online, or here's this fast workout I just did. CrossFit always posts who can do the fastest frame, right? Whoever posts, or the fastest Karen, or whatever. And so it's like, okay, how can I get better at that? And the questions you gotta ask is, one, are you ready to?
Yeah.
But before even doing that, why? Why do you want to get better at that?
Yeah, and the other thing to keep in mind too is you don't know if you are able to express power unless you can do it repeatedly. And I don't mean you have to do it 10 times repeatable, but you at least have to do it twice, otherwise it's not measurable. Right? So if you say, okay, I'm going to get onto the assault bike and go 30 seconds hard, and let's just say you get 20 calories in that 30 seconds. And okay, if that was an all-out effort, here's how to know. If you can sit down for 2 minutes and repeat that effort, you did not express high power.
Right.
High power is where you go all out for that, what did I say, 30 seconds? 30 seconds, and you're resting 8 minutes, 10 minutes in order to get up the nervous system fortitude to express that again.
Right.
And then if you can do it again, okay, can you rest another 6 minutes and then do it again? And then the minute that you can't, that you get less than 20, so 19 calories or less, you stop. And then you sit and evaluate. And you say, okay, I can't do it more than twice, so what does the training program look like to get me the ability to express power out past 2 rounds of 30 seconds all out? Do I have to increase my rest in between? So maybe instead of 6 minutes of rest, I go 8 minutes of rest. So there are a lot of variables, but again, you have to measure it against something to know if it's repeatable.
Right.
Because that's I think where a lot of programs and training can go wrong is you think, okay, I'm doing this AMRAP, and like you mentioned, the 4-minute AMRAP, and I'm doing it and it's high power output. Well, it depends. If you were just to plot like what your intra-set splits were, if your first one is 3 minutes, and then you go to 3:15 and then 3:25, guess what? You should have stopped after the first one. And that's the whole thing that we've been teaching people over the last, I don't even know how many months now, is the ability to pace your workouts, because that is actually how you can maximize, what your power output is, right? So logic should dictate, and again, I have to understand what my bias in perspective is that somebody who's been doing this for a couple of decades now, it's different than people who just do this for an hour a day and then go on about their daily life. They don't think about it 24/7. But logic should dictate that if it says you're working for 40 minutes versus if it says you're working for 4, even if everything's the same, you're going to be going at a much different clip for the 40 minutes than you are for the 4 minutes.
Right.
So.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool.
So how do you express it? Earn it. Get strong enough.
And then you express it.
Yeah.
So kind of segueing that right into the next question. This is something that, a couple of us coaches were just talking about outside right after the 9 a.m. class. And it's a topic on what I kind of dub movement compensation, right? So the question is if you're doing X movement and you're resorting to a certain movement pattern, so like I know for us it would say like a push press, right?
Yeah.
So it was turning like a push press into a push jerk, or think like if you are doing a back squat and your knees start caving in, but you're still able to do the work, what exactly does this movement compensation mean, and why is it important, right? So what really, the original question is like, what's happening? Why is it important to, why does it matter if your knees come in on a back squat? I think that's a little bit more black and white. Obviously, we know that's bad, but if somebody is turning a push press into a push jerk, why does it matter? So they're still doing a shoulder over and they're still getting a press. What's the point? Why does it matter?
Yeah, so you're spot on with calling it movement compensation. So when we're specifically talking about the difference between a push press and a push jerk, in a push press there is always going to be continual pressure to drive the bar up, whereas in a push jerk, once the bar gets unweighted off the shoulders, the pressure is actually flipped, and now you are pressing against the bar to push your body underneath it, right? And so you can kind of visualize this in your head. As the load gets heavier on a push press, the bar is going to get unweighted less and less and less off your shoulders, which means that you are going to have to get further and further and further under it to actually catch it. And you can see this play out at the highest level of usually like the Chinese Olympic weightlifters that can push jerk all the way to the floor, or they'll end up calling it a squat jerk because they'll catch it, into a very narrow overhead squat position. So like that's the ultimate expression, right?
So cool.
I think you've had that ability to do that pretty well in the past too.
I'm a little bit tighter now, but I think maybe a couple more months of mobility
Right.
to get back to it.
Okay, so why the difference, or why is it important? Well, number one, it's because they're two different movements, and you can't say that you're doing one if you're doing another. Like, we're not arguing over semantics here. It's two different movements, and so if I'm coaching you and I say, okay, we're doing push presses today, and we're not going to rebend and get under the bar. So now I'm setting the standard. We've laid out the quote-unquote rules of the game, right?
Yeah.
And so we're all agreeing. We're push pressing, we're not push jerking. So that's number one. Why it's important is because then you're doing the thing that it is. Now, the other piece of why it's important is because of what the intention of the movement is. So like I said at the beginning, on a push press, there's always pressure on the bar pressing it up. Okay, so what we're really focusing on is having really, really good leg drive all the way through the top of your leg extension so that we can get maximal acceleration, and then the arms can take over and do the work that they are able to do. When somebody is push jerking, usually what they will do is limit the leg drive because they know that they are going to be able to get under the bar, right? So instead of just cueing them, okay, we're going to continue to press the bar up, and because in a really good push jerk, like the Olympic weightlifters we talked about, they're not minimizing the leg drive. But they learned that because they got really good at the push press first. But if you skip ahead, it's like trying to learn calculus without learning basic arithmetic.
Yeah.
You could probably cheat your way through it, but you're not actually doing it. You're just guessing and getting some things right. So that's the same thing that's going on with, well, but I can push jerk, so why should I learn to push press? Well, because if you learn to push press correctly, you're going to end up push jerking far more than you should. And here's a great, if you still aren't bought in on this, here's a great mathematical perspective to think about. Don't hold me to these numbers, but they do hold true, fairly decently. I think the rule of thumb is you should be able to push press about 30% more than you can strict press. And you should be able to push jerk about 30% more than you can push press.
Got it.
So if you say, well, it's just a little bit more, or it's significantly more than push jerk to push press, well then you're doing the push press incorrectly. You're not actually using your legs.
Right.
And then what that should also clue you in on is, oh, I should actually be able to push jerk even more. And if you're not, if your push press is really, really high, but your push jerk is not, and mechanically you are okay of like the mechanics of getting the bar up, then maybe it's a mobility thing. So there's a lot of diagnostic that goes into it, but the first one is, can you do the push press right? Can you drive the bar up with your legs?
Yeah. It's interesting because if we see somebody, say they're turning at 75, say the weight's 75, 55 for men and women respectively, and they're turning a push press into a push jerk, is okay, we all like to go heavy. What happens when we do progress and we get strong enough, bringing it back a little bit, and we get up to a 185, 135, right? What's going to happen when we try to push jerk? Like, are we going to be able to, the cue as coaches we always use is lock and land. Like, are we going to be able to lock our arms out at the same time we land? Like, probably not, right? Because the mechanics is off, right? So it's not like, oh, I need to, because the argument I always hear is I need to push jerk, or I need to split jerk heavy more. Like, I need to keep clean jerking heavy because I don't feel comfortable underneath it. It's like, well, you don't look comfortable underneath a light barbell. So
right.
let's get that done first, and I guarantee that's going to improve your ability to push press or push jerk or split jerk 185 much better than just hammering bad habits away. And we've been saying that for years when it comes to Olympic weightlifting. It's not like, oh, now we're doing something new, so they're saying something new. It's like, no, we've always said that. It's just now we're being a little bit more, I think, specific with it. Because we've always been, okay, like, if you're in a class, and back when we clean and jerked a lot, right, it was, hey, you're not going heavy today, right? Like, you're going to keep it light. And actually, we got to the point to where people couldn't push jerk properly. It's like, well, let's just do push press instead, right? So that's a wave we've always ridden. We've always been on it. So it's kind of cool to tie that into what we were saying now.
Here's the other thing, too. You go back to the conversation on push press, a light-ish weight in a workout, 75, 55. It's faster to push press.
Much.
So do that correctly. If you're concerned, like to go back to the previous question, to express high power output, it's going to be faster to push press than it is to push jerk for reps, right? So there's that too. But I get it. Like it is hard to do it right. And I was sharing a story earlier with when I was coaching Shannon, and I had put some push pressing into her program, and I remember getting video, and we were going back and forth, and she was getting mad because I was telling her, like, you're not doing it right, and she's fighting, like, yes, I am. And so I would shoot a video, show it to her, do some comparison, and it took months to be able to get her to do it right. But when the light bulb went off, everything changed.
Right.
Why were we doing that? Because where she was losing out on lifting more weight, it was never an amount of weight that she could clean. It was the amount of weight that she could get overhead. Her legs were strong enough. She just needed to put the mechanics together of using it to get the bar off the shoulders. So we push pressed a lot.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's about all I got. You got anything else you want to add? I think that's good.
That's all I had today. That was good. Good on the questions. Programming, power output, push press. Yeah.
Movement, compensation, survival, movement, survival. Survive through your workouts, people. That's what gets you better.
That's right. Just survive. Don't worry about thriving at all. Just die a slow death.
Yeah. Okay.
That was sarcasm for anybody that took that seriously, just in case I didn't lay it on thick enough.
Gosh, please.
I gotta take the rest of the afternoon. Wait a minute. Is it Wednesday, June 30th at 11:22?
Yes.
It corrected itself. I didn't even see it change, but
that's freaky.
That is really weird. Now the computer just time traveled.
Yeah. Wave at that FBI agent hanging out in your camera. Hey, dude.
Hello. Wait, no, over here.
I was listening to this podcast, and this is a real quick note, and there was this, it was the Matt Johnson 7 podcast, and so they do it on video, right? And so they record their videos, and I think either Josh or I think 7 was saying that, like, long after they finished their podcast, like, he went back to his computer later, and they weren't recording or anything. He didn't even have his app up. But the same little light, that we got.
Yeah, the green light. Yeah.
He said his was still on. And so he just closed his laptop. He didn't open it again until they did the podcast next time. Like, dude, that's freaky. Like, what are the chances it's recording you? But it's just kind of weird that, okay, if you see that little green light on, I know people that put their tape on to the little camera.
They're a little paranoid.
Yeah. Tinfoil hat.
Dude, you're already giving away so much information. Like, the camera is the least of your worries. Trust me. You carry your phone with you everywhere you go. You're giving the powers that be all the information they would ever need. We don't need to turn into a conspiracy theorist podcast, but just be aware, people. Come on.
Or the people that are like, oh, they wanna they want to vaccinate you to put the little chip in you or whatever. It's like, bro, you're carrying around a little chip with you.
Right.
And you got your computer and you got your Apple Watch. Like, they have more heart rate data and activity data and location data on you than you even know. And people are still like, no way, doctor, my location service is off. It's like, come on.
Yeah,
Come on.
Do you subscribe to Sirius XM radio? There's a GPS antenna. It can tell where you're going when. You have like OnStar, like Mandy's new car's got this tracking app. I've actually screenshotted like, why are you over here? Because I can see where she's at on the app.
Yeah.
I can tell if her engine's on or off, what the air conditioner is set to, what the seats are doing in the car, like all that stuff. So come on.
We look like the guys with the really messed up hair at the board with the markers on it. Like, you see what I'm talking about, people?
The computer just time traveled. I mean, come on.
Yeah. It's over. So thanks to your computer for getting us down that track.
That's right. Thanks, Apple, MacBook Pro.
Yeah, they definitely know where everybody is.
Yeah.
Jeez.
All right. With that, I'm out of here because
Josh
we're watching.
here. He's actually going to do the outro after I tell you thank you for watching and listening. Leave a 5-star written review if you listen on iTunes. It really helps the podcast. This has been episode 80 of the Art of Coaching with Mark Z and Josh Martin, J Mark. So we will see you.